Let me tell you a story about a time I was filming a video and saw a dead body hanging in the woods across from me.
Actually, this story is not some supernatural horror tale. It is more of a realistic horror case.
Especially now, with so many young people choosing not to marry or have kids, they might face the same loneliness when they get old. So, on the 3rd of June, 2024, I was shooting an abstract video. Yeah, it was while I was filming this very video.
Right there, in the woods across the mountain behind me, an old man had hanged himself.
Barely 100 meters from me.
I did not know, but learning it later sent shivers down my spine.
The weather that day was also gloomy.
Plus, the time he passed away was most likely when I was filming this video.
Because that morning, the old lady who lived across from him had seen him go out. So it must have happened sometime in the morning. I happened to go back and film that video around 11 a.m. that day. So it is very likely that while I was filming, he was hanging himself, passing away right at that moment. People later guessed he died from extreme loneliness, unable to cope. Besides his deafness, he had no major health issues.
But that might have been due to his deafness and childhood issues. He had a tough childhood, having moved here with his remarried mother and a terrible temper when young.
His wife was arguably abused to death by him, only in her 30 seconds, worn out by overwork and grave illness. Lacking treatment funds, she ended her life with rat poison.
He also treated his 2 daughters poorly, constantly hitting and scolding, leading them to drop out early for work. So, once his 2 daughters grew up, they held grudges against him. So their bond was not very deep, they just fulfilled their duty to support him. Actually, their support was quite good. Since his early 50 seconds, they gave him 600 RMB a month for his upkeep, so he lacked nothing materially.
Plus, his temper was really strange. For a while, his daughters and sons-in-law came back to their hometown to start a farming business, and they almost came to blows. He would curse at his daughter and son-in-law with such foul language, so they were not too keen on going back to see him. After all, every visit ended in a fight, and who can put up with that? When he was younger, he was the captain of our local production team. He was also incredibly harsh and cruel to the other production team members, embezzled public funds, and secretly sold off the team's assets. So nobody could stand him. He was eventually removed from his position. Even his own half-brothers had a terrible relationship with him, so no one would talk to him. He escalated his behavior, constantly causing trouble, fighting men, and spreading malicious gossip about women. A few years back, he even blinded an old woman in one eye. Even the police found him a real nuisance. So people avoided him even more, a vicious cycle. So to deal with this loneliness, he would pretend someone was calling him, chatting and laughing away for an hour or two, when in reality, no one ever called. A few years back, when he was a bit younger, he was healthy and mentally tougher. Later, with age, he grew fragile. The countryside hollowed out, his production team emptied, and he could not use smartphones or keep up with the times. His daughter and son-in-law even got him a hearing aid, but he could not use it and broke it. Maybe being alone at home every day made him feel like there was no point in living, so he hanged himself. Later, his daughter reviewed the security footage from his last days. She would install the camera in front of his house as he was old. So, they saw that 2 days before he passed away, he was just sitting there alone on a stool by the door, just staring into space, sitting there for the entire day. Perhaps he was reflecting on his life. Then, the day before he passed away, it was market day, right? The 2 to 5 to 8 market, which he attended. People from our area said that on the day he went to the market, he used to be quite harsh. He might run into someone and even curse at them, saying some rather unkind things. But that day, knowing he was about to take his own life, he became quite gentle. He would even greet his old buddies with a pleasant face. Then, when he headed back after it was all over, he did the same thing, taking a detour to wander through all the lands and hills of our entire production team. He carefully toured it all. After his walk, he came back and just sat there by his door, lost in thought. And the very next day, he took his own life. On the day he took his own life, I was filming across the way. He found a short, crooked chestnut tree, only about 1.7 meters tall. He himself was about 5'3" and pretty stout.
He definitely could not have hung himself from that tree, so he passed away kneeling right beneath it.
He just tied a rope around his neck, hung there kneeling, and strangled himself with his own body weight.
He could have lived by simply standing up if he would have changed his mind. Yet, he did not. No struggle, just passed away kneeling.
And speaking of finding his body, that whole process was quite a saga. I was filming a video across the way that day, totally unaware he was in those woods. It was the next day, so the next day, since he would left that morning and had not come back by night, his daughter checked the security monitors and saw he still was not home. So she gave him a call, but the phone just would not go through. They also went and asked his relatives and so on if he would been to their places. Everyone said no.
No one in the village had seen him. They rushed back that night, searching everywhere but finding nothing.
They immediately called the police, and the station sent officers over, but they could not find him either.
Since I am a local and I used to work as an auxiliary police officer at the station, my old colleagues called me to ask what was going on and if I would seen anything. At that time, that video was actually a brand collaboration deal, but the client was not happy with it.
So the next afternoon, I was back reshooting, and when I got the call, I was in those woods. Again, I said I had not seen him, but in reality, at that very moment, his body was hanging right there in the woods across from me. Then, everyone just thought he would gone missing. They searched for a few more days, but the tree he hanged himself from was only dozens of meters from his house, and just a dozen meters from the path. So, the villagers, government officials, relatives, and police, who came looking, no one could find him. They passed by that tree countless times, yet never saw a thing. At one point, these people were maybe just 2 or 3 meters away from that tree. Several groups passed by, yet they just could not see it.
Many said it was some ghostly disorientation, as if their eyes were covered. Of course, I think it was just the dense tree branches.
So how was he finally found? Well, after several days had passed, he started to rot and give off a smell. People could smell it all along the small path. They found him hanging there. Due to the high temperature, all his soft tissues had rotted. Only then was he taken down and carried back.
Later, when I went back home, not far from his place, an elderly couple in their 80s lived just a few hundred meters across from his house.
So, about a month or so after that, old man hanged himself.
The old lady from that couple told me that at night she saw his soul, yes, his spirit, come back walking along the field ridge right in front of my house,
because the path to his house passes my field ridge. The old woman said that at night, she heard her dog barking non-stop, really fiercely, so she came outside to check, thinking someone might be passing by.
So, as soon as she stepped outside, she saw a figure, just like the back of that old man who had passed away, walking along the field ridge, and the old woman said, "He is back."
Anyway, this story really gets to me because he was actually quite nice to me growing up, always a very cheerful person. He would give me candy and often tell my dad, "This kid of yours is too honest." Being so honest is not a good thing. So, when I heard the news of his passing, it really hit me a bit.
It is partly rural hollowing. The elderly struggle to keep up, becoming lonely and losing hope. Especially when he would pretend to be on the phone, I found it both absurd and pitiful.
Another thing that got to me was his way of dealing with people. How he was not kind to others when he was young, always fighting to win, to be first. But when he got old, nobody wanted him around, not even his own daughter. The things you chase after when you are young become useless when you get old. But on the flip side, the things you did not care about back then, family, friendship, love, you end up needing them in your later years.
Actually, all things considered, I think his later years were quite good, nearing 70 and still in good health.
He received a nearly 1,000 yuan a month from his daughter, and social security, more than enough for rural life. He clearly lacked for nothing: food, clothes, but he was consumed by that emotional void. Perhaps in his final moments of zoning out, he realized all this.
So, really, no one can say for sure what is most important in life. The things that mattered when we were young, do they still matter when we get old?
So, what comes first, material or spiritual?